While everyone's watching OpenAI and Anthropic, China's Zhipu just quietly built an AI model performing as well as anything coming out of Silicon Valley. Their latest model launched recently, and it's already competing with GPT-4 and Claude on standard benchmarks. The shocking part, Western AI companies aren't just facing competition. They're facing a company catching up using completely different strategies. Zhipu is a Beijing-based AI research company founded in 2023. In just 3 years, they've created models performing nearly identically to GPT-4 and Claude on standard tests. They did this while the United States and Europe tightened export controls on chips. Think of it like this: imagine running a race, but someone keeps taking your best shoes. That's China's situation. Western companies have access to the latest NVIDIA chips, massive cloud infrastructure, and billions in venture capital. Zhipu has determination and smart engineering. For years, we've assumed the United States had an unbreakable lead in AI. We thought the technology was so complex and the resources so scarce that only American and European companies could compete at the highest level. But Zhipu is proving that wrong. What's more surprising is they are doing this openly. They are publishing research, releasing models publicly, and challenging the Western narrative that American AI is inherently superior. And here's where it gets interesting. The implications of this are only starting to sink in across Silicon Valley. To understand why Zhipu matters, you need to know where they came from. In 2023, a group of AI researchers started Zhipu in Beijing. Their mission was straightforward: build world-class AI models without the same infrastructure Silicon Valley depends on. The company's name means wisest in Chinese. They weren't just trying to compete with OpenAI and Anthropic. They were engineering around a specific constraint. American export controls limited access to the most powerful NVIDIA chips. So they did something smart. Instead of fighting those limitations, they engineered around them. They optimized models to run on older chips. They developed training techniques requiring less computing power. They focused on software innovation instead of throwing more hardware at problems. Within months, they released their first models. The results shocked everyone. Their early versions performed competitively with models from companies that had spent billions more. It was like watching a startup beat Ferrari using a Toyota engine. By 2024 and 2025, Zhipu kept improving. They released open-source versions of their models, which meant anyone could download and use them for free. That's the critical difference from OpenAI and Anthropic, who keep their best models behind paywalls. Their strategy was simple: make good AI freely available and prove that artificial intelligence dominance wasn't an American monopoly. This philosophy attracted talent from across Asia. Soon, Zhipu had become something bigger than a startup. They'd become a genuine alternative. But here's what most coverage gets wrong: this isn't just business. The story gets deeper when you look at how Zhipu actually builds their models. Most people think AI companies are secretive because they are protecting intellectual property. But there's another reason: they are hiding the enormous cost of training. Training a state-of-the-art AI model costs hundreds of millions of dollars. You need thousands of the latest NVIDIA GPU chips running continuously for months. You need massive data centers and power grids. OpenAI's latest model cost between $50 million and $500 million to train, according to estimates. Zhipu looked at that and asked differently: can we get the same results with less computing power? Their answer was brilliant. They developed mixture of experts architecture, which is like hiring specialists instead of one generalist. You've got one expert at math, one at writing, one at coding. When a question comes in, the system routes it to the right specialist. This uses significantly less computing power during training and runs faster during inference, meaning when you use the model, it consumes less energy. They also focused heavily on open-source communities and collaborative research. They published papers explaining their methods instead of keeping them secret. This attracted incredible talent who wanted to work on cutting-edge AI without corporate bureaucracy. Here's the twist nobody expected: by making their work open, Zhipu actually moved faster than closed competitors. Collaboration beats secrecy when you're racing to build something new. This is how they managed to catch up to companies with 100 times more resources. Now here's what they actually built. So what can Zhipu's latest models actually do? The best way to understand it is to compare them to the jobs you hire AI for today. If you're a developer writing code, Zhipu's models can suggest completions and catch bugs, just like GitHub Copilot. They understand programming syntax across dozens of languages. They can refactor messy code and explain what broken code does wrong. If you're a writer, the models handle everything from emails to full blog posts. You give them a topic, and they'll generate a 2,000-word article with proper structure, citations, and personality. They understand tone and can write in your voice. If you're in customer service, Zhipu's models handle support tickets at scale. They read complaints, understand the problem, draft empathetic responses, and route complex issues to humans. The real test came when researchers ran both Zhipu and OpenAI models through the same benchmarks. Zhipu's latest version scored in the 92nd percentile on standard AI tests. OpenAI's GPT-4 Turbo scores in the 95th percentile. That gap, 3 percentage points, is the distance Zhipu has closed in just 3 years. For most real-world use cases, that 3-point difference is invisible. Both models handle customer service equally well. Both write equally good emails. Both catch most bugs. But here's where it matters. Zhipu charges nothing for their open-source versions. Anyone can download them, run them locally, modify them. That's how Zhipu competes against companies with deeper pockets. They don't win on raw performance. They win on accessibility. But there's one more advantage nobody predicted. Let's be specific about how Zhipu's performance stacks up. The main benchmark is MMLU, a test covering math, history, law, and science. It's like an IQ test for AI. On MMLU, GPT-4 Turbo scores 89.9%, Claude 3.5 Sonnet scores 88%, Zhipu's latest scores 88.2%. The difference between Claude and Zhipu is less than 1%. On human eval, which measures coding ability, GPT-4 scores 89.2% and Zhipu scores 87.8%. On GSM-8K math reasoning, GPT-4 scores 97.7% and Zhipu scores 96.9%. The pattern is consistent. Zhipu is consistently 90-something% as good as the world's best models. That's not just good enough. That's competitive. That's world-class. Think practically. If you're using AI for customer support, writing emails, or basic coding, the Zhipu model handles those jobs at essentially identical performance to GPT-4 or Claude, but it costs $0 to run. OpenAI charges 3 cents per 1,000 input tokens. For customer service conversation, that's roughly 15 cents per interaction. Zhipu is free. If you process thousands of interactions daily, that's $20,000 monthly versus nothing. The economics are brutal for closed-source competitors. Companies are looking at those numbers right now and realizing they don't need to pay for expensive AI anymore. They can run Zhipu's models on their own servers for pennies. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't just a price war. This is where the story changes from business to geopolitics. The United States has spent the last 3 years trying to maintain AI dominance through export controls. The government restricted chip sales to China. They blocked advanced NVIDIA GPUs from being shipped across the Pacific. The strategy made sense on paper. No advanced chips means no advanced AI, right? Except China looked at those restrictions and got clever. First, researchers optimized software to squeeze more performance out of older hardware. That's what Zhipu did. Second, Chinese companies started manufacturing their own chips. They're not quite as good as NVIDIA's latest, but they're good enough. Huawei, Lunxin, and others started producing chips that bypass American export controls entirely. Third, and this is the part that keeps American policymakers up at night, open-source AI models don't respect borders. Zhipu publishes their models freely. Anyone can download them. A company in Germany can use them. A startup in Singapore can use them. Universities in Africa can use them. American companies built their dominance on closed models and exclusive access. OpenAI keeps GPT-4 behind paywalls. Google keeps Gemini Pro behind paywalls. But once Zhipu's models are published, that exclusivity disappears forever. For the last 2 years, the strategy was control the chips, control the AI. Zhipu just proved that strategy doesn't work. You can't restrict technology that runs on commodity hardware and gets shared freely online. This is the geopolitical earthquake nobody expected. and the consequences are only starting to unfold now. So what does this mean for you? If you're a developer, the implications are immediate. You can now deploy world-class AI on your own servers without paying OpenAI or Google. Download Zhipu's model, run it on your hardware, fine-tune it for your specific use case, add specialized knowledge, train it on your proprietary data without sending anything to a cloud service or a foreign government. For many companies, that's the difference between using AI and not. A small business making $500,000 annually can't afford $200 per month in API calls to OpenAI, but they can afford to run an open-source model locally once. If you're in data security, this is huge. Sensitive data, medical records, legal documents, client conversations stay on your servers. They never get sent to OpenAI's infrastructure or Anthropic's infrastructure. You own the data. You own the model. You control everything. If you're interested in contributing to AI research, Zhipu's open models mean you can experiment and improve them. You can publish your improvements. You can compete with the big companies. The barrier to entry just dropped from need $500 million to need a decent GPU and a good idea. This is how open-source software disrupted closed commercial software in the 1990s. Linux beat proprietary Unix. Firefox beat Internet Explorer. Open source won because it let people solve their own problems instead of waiting for corporate releases. Zhipu is applying that same playbook to AI, and it's working exactly as well as anyone predicted it would. This changes everything. Here's why. Here's what this means for you. For decades, technology dominance came from controlling resources, money, chips, talent. The richest companies built the best products. Zhipu changed that equation. They proved that engineering brilliance can compete against raw resources. They proved you don't need to be the richest company to build world-leading AI. The consequences are rippling through the industry. Companies that charged premium prices for AI now face free alternatives. Developers locked into closed platforms now have options. Startups that couldn't afford OpenAI's prices can now build AI products for almost nothing. The bigger consequence is geopolitical. China has proven it can develop world-leading AI despite American export controls. That changes power dynamics. That changes which countries will lead the next 20 years of innovation. The United States still has advantages. Silicon Valley has more venture capital. American universities attract the world's best AI talent. That lead won't disappear tomorrow, but it just got smaller, and it'll keep getting smaller as Zhipu innovates at this pace. What to watch for? First, will Zhipu release an even stronger model that definitively beats Claude and GPT-4? Second, how will OpenAI and Anthropic respond? Will they drop prices or open source their models? Third, will other countries join the race? If China can do it, why not Europe or India? The age of American AI monopoly is ending. The global AI competition has begun, and everyone's watching to see who comes out on top. That's what's happening right now in artificial intelligence. Follow for daily AI news.